the industries the COVID-19 pandemic is threatening is the airline industry. Flights are almost empty. Flight schedules have been dramatically reduced, and the warnings from trade associations are alarming.
Airline analyst Seth Kaplan joins us now. Seth, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Morning. Good to be here.
So, one of the questions I was asking early on is why isn't there a domestic airline shutdown, considering the nature of this virus? What was that discussion like on your end?
You know, it's a good question, and it's gone kind of like the other things in this country, sort of on an ad hoc basis, region by region. Airlines are federally regulated generally, and so just as there hasn't been a federal order to shut everything down nationally in other regards, there hasn't been one for the airlines. In fact, with the assistance that they're getting, what they call disaster assistance, whether people call it bailout, they are required to keep flying. At least they can't stop flying for commercial reasons. Now, of course, the government could always order them to stop, but you're not going to see Delta, an airline like you see there, or its competitors, United, American, or Southwest with those big hubs in Chicago, making that decision on their own. At this point, they've basically agreed to keep paying the people and to keep flying to a certain degree, even though, of course, they've cut service a lot.
Yeah, what could we see the changes to, going forward once this is all over with? Are we going to see a lot fewer flights out there as they cut services? Are we going to see seats further apart as people kind of adjusting to their new normal?
Yeah, American, for one, has already relaxed its policies. You know how in recent years, if you went to select a seat ahead of time, so many of the seats you had to pay for if you wanted them. And, of course, they had those basic economy fares where you couldn't even select a seat ahead of time. Now they're being more liberal about that. And the fact is that flights just are so empty that you can avoid sitting in a middle seat. And, by the way, there was a study a couple of years ago out of Emory University down in Atlanta, long before we all thought about coronavirus, about people getting sick on airplanes. And they found that people who sit on the window get sick at a lower rate than other people. Nothing magical about the window. It's just that you're not surrounded by as many people. You don't have people on all sides of you. Again, back then it was just more about avoiding a cold, but now some good advice to keep in mind for those few people who still have to fly. And of course, most of us are avoiding flying at all at this point.
I think a lot of people are wondering about if they booked a flight, can they get a refund? Is there a standard policy, rebooking? What is it? What is the stance right now?
Yeah, certainly not a standard policy. Another one of those things where it's complicated. And all airlines are being more liberal than they usually are being. I mean, even the ultra low-cost airlines, as they call themselves, airlines like Spirit, that usually don't let you make changes at all, basically, or only with a really big fee, are allowing you to make changes. But it varies. United is one that's been criticized for being stricter than others in terms of not offering refunds. Usually, if an airline cancels on you, in other words, not you saying I don't want to travel, but they say, hey, there's no more flight and we can't get you there at about the same time. Many of them will offer you the option to take a full refund rather than just a travel credit. Almost all of them at this point will let you at least get a credit. So one good piece of advice, by the way, is that if you have a flight booked several weeks from now, even if you know, hey, you're probably not going to travel, it can be worth waiting to see if the airline does first cancel on you, because in many cases they are going to give you that option. Now, on the other hand, don't wait too long. Don't forget to cancel, because most of them do require you to notify them if you're just not going to travel to avoid losing your money. Delta's one exception. They say right now if you don't show up, they'll just automatically give you a credit. But if you have a flight a month from now, put it on your calendar for kind of a day or two before you're scheduled to travel. If they haven't yet canceled on you, then, jump on the website or the app or call them if you have to. Tell them.
Great. Thanks, Seth.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Checking the weather, Paul?